So yes, that template, the little
now it's being recorded. Okay, we just saved the day. I just hit record. Okay, so now it's being recorded. So that's great. Again, if you're just coming to us or you're just popping in, this is the SkyAngelsLIVE with Jenia, our tax guru, who's going to be talking all things taxes and numbers and LLCs and all that great stuff. So grab your notes, and again, Jenia, take it from here.
All right, perfect. So if you jump in a little bit later, once again, my name is Jenia Serebrin. I'm a tax accountant, and I'm here to show you how fun it is to look at your financials and actually realize, okay, this is what happened here, this is what happened here, and how I can make the sense and how I can make my business better. How can I grow it? How I can take it to the next level. All right, if you have the workbook next to you, great. If you don't have it, maybe there's an option to look at it later when you look at the recording. So if you have a question, write it down. We'll get back to that a little bit later. The whole idea about taxes, about bookkeeping, about business, that everything is straightforward. There are rules. Rules are put in IRS code. There is regulation explaining those rules. So everything is the same. It does not matter what type of business you have. There is the same rules. The same rule is to not commingle your personal funds and business funds, right? The same rule regarding your receipts. You're supposed to keep the receipts for a specific number of years. Same rule, doesn't matter. However, I want you to remember, every time you start a business, that's your baby. Remember when you start your business and you decide to be a mom, it's you get a baby, you look at the baby just pooped in a diaper, and you're not saying like, oh my God, I love the baby, that I don't want to clean the diaper, right? The business, some people look at the bookkeeping and they're like, okay, this is so dirty, I don't want to touch it. So there is procrastination. There is a lot of things that come into that. So my intention for today, to give you a little bit of inspiration about taxes and bookkeeping and compliance, where you would say, okay, this is my baby. I am cleaning my bookkeeping. I'm setting up an LLC. I am putting together the plan, the structure to take my business to the next level. And it's all up to you, right? And you can do it. So Stephanie is teaching you how to become fancy, smart, proud flight attendant, the Sky Angel. My part is bring that foundational bookkeeping and taxes and legal stuff and under it, so you can stand and say, okay, like my business is growing, I can bring more people and everything is organized and fun. Okay, so that's one thing. So mindset, when you look at page 2 of that workbook, you'll see mindset is a lot. And everything is about creating a habit when it comes down to your business. Let's say, when was the last time you looked at your bank statements and you were like, oh, look at this bank statement. Oh my God, what am I going to do about it? So change this, right? You look at your, decide that you find this 5 minutes of your day. Let's say today, I'm just going to think about how can I make this business better, right? How can I put the bookkeeping better, the system better? Turn on the favorite song. On that page 2, just write down your favorite song. This is the setup for you. Your brain will listen to the song next time you sit. And okay, so this is the time when I think about numbers. The song, numbers. Next, look around. If it's messy, clean it up. Get that space organized so you see, okay, I am a boss lady. I know that my business is important to me. My baby is important to me. I'm going to organize and create this space where I'm in my happy, fun bubble. And I'm going to happy, fun tax bubble, a numbers bubble, where I sit, listen to the music, and put together this bookkeeping thing. Okay. Next would be you create that system. You come in, there is a system. I know that each receipt goes into a specific folder. It could be a folder online, could be actual folder, but there is a system. The next would be like dedicate each time each week, 15 minutes each week. I tell you, if you have a small business, you just begin 15 minutes, 15 minutes each week would be totally enough. You could have 5 transactions. It doesn't need, you don't need at this point a bookkeeper. You don't need personal assistant. You just need this habit, 15 minutes a week. And you just get it done. And the fun, the most important part is just enjoy it. Just choose to enjoy it, you know? So the reason why I'm kind of jumping a little bit further, this is a little piece of me how I structure. So because we also have a little limited time, I would love to give you as much as possible. So let's jump to the next page. When it comes down to business and business rules, is I want you to understand one thing. So business rules. Okay, number one thing, always report income. Okay, all agencies, I don't know if you can see that or not.
A little, yeah, right.
Always report your income. Your income is cash, your income is tips, your income is credit payments that you accept through credit, Venmo, PayPal, Zelle, somebody gave you a ring because you provided awesome services. Like outside of any jokes, all income received in any form is your income. Report it. The best way to stay out of audit, of any trouble, is to report it, right? And then the most important fun part is you take advantage of all allowable and allowed expenses. You can deduct stuff. So while IRS requires you to always report all your income, it lets you to deduct your expenses. Okay, and this is the part that my clients ask me a lot. All right, wait a second, Jenia, what is deductible? What can I expense? So that's, so I kind of put together the page 3, page 4 would be like, write down for yourself exactly how you get your income, just for fun. See, if you get cash, 30% is cash, 40% is paid through, let's say, your direct deposit. Somebody sends you Zelle. So visually, you will see, okay, this is the money I'm getting. Okay, how can I get more money? Maybe less in cash, more in checks, more automatic transactions, you see? Make it fun, because when you see visually, you can, okay, you can make financial decision. You can make, okay, I don't want to touch cash. We are living in the 21st century. Nobody touches cash these days, right? There's no cash. Cash is so liquid, and some people pretend that if they received cash put in the pocket, it never happened. It actually happened because, and I'll tell you a little bit later why it happened and why you need to report the income, because there were other checks and balances everywhere. Okay, that was all about business income. Let's talk about the fun part about business expenses. All right. There are different types of business expenses. However, all of them must answer one question. If the answer is yes, then yes, you can deduct it. If the answer is no, then no, there's no way you can deduct it. So, and this question is it ordinary and necessary expense? I'm a tax accountant. I love the ocean. Okay, my boyfriend loves yachts. I would love to buy a yacht for him, and I would love my business to pay for it. There is no way I can deduct it under my business. Okay, so however, that's a very, very good example. My cousin, she's an artist. She's a painter, so she paints a lot of very awesome paintings and sells them, right? And she's got a dream since she was a little girl. She wanted to paint underwater. Okay, when she buys a yacht and goes into the open ocean, goes in and paints, her yacht is a business expense. All right, so can she use that yacht somewhere else? Yes, she can. However, her main focus is go there and paint underwater 365 days a year. Okay, if for some reason she invites the whole family half of the year on her yacht, that expense would not be deductible. Let's just take an example from you guys. So you go and you're beautiful. You probably, like, I'm a tax nerd, so I'm less in that industry. So I don't even know how, like, there's so many colors for the lip gloss. Like, I'm colorblind, I call it. So, but you go and you buy a lot of colors because you have a lot of uniforms, right? A lot of dresses, a lot of outfits, and you go and buy that lip gloss. And the question is, can you deduct it under your business? And the answer is no. And the reason for that, because you're going to turn around and apply that lip gloss and go on a date with your boyfriend today, with your other boyfriend tomorrow, and another one. Okay. However, if that's a blue lip gloss that only you're supposed to wear when you are flying on a blue airlines, and that's the only way you would put it on. And it's a trademark of that airline. You don't have any rights to use that lip gloss anywhere else. Then it's deductible. And I don't have any feedback right now, but I want to lend it for you. So was it ordinary and necessary expense for you to buy that blue lip gloss? Yes, because the only way you would use it for your business, for this specific project. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to pause you right there because
I
know they're like, well, wait a second. Like, I'm required to wear this uniform. I'm required to look presentable and have my hair capped. I'm required to, have my nails done. I'm required to wear a certain scent, right? So where do those expenses fall under a write-off? If it's a requirement, yet you could also enjoy that scent off the aircraft. You could also, obviously, your nails are, beautiful even when you're not flying, and your hair is your hair, right? So where do those expenses fall in a write-off?
They're not deductible. They don't go anywhere. So and the reason why is, like, I had some experience with movie stars, and they also go to all auditions and they prepare specifically for specific audition. So if let's say you have the dress that is specific uniform that you only wear at work, yes, it's deductible. However, if you use that uniform, which is not going to be considered uniform anymore, right? Then it's not deductible.
Okay.
And the reason that the IRS, there are ways around this, and I wouldn't say ways around it, that you can structure your agreement with your employer in a way that employer would cover the expenses because they require additional specific way you dress for your shift.
Okay. So that's something that they should negotiate into their contract with that employer, not necessarily employer, but the person that they're contracting and doing a 1099 with.
Right.
So it should really be, so just for our career, we charge a daily rate when we are flying contract. So maybe what I hear you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that their daily rate should reflect the expenses that are also requirements of that position. So it's really the expenses wrapped up in their day rate.
So the reason the IRS is very particular about the specific uniforms, they're okay with uniform. However, if there is something that looks more like not a business expense, but personal, they are very specific to say, okay, a lot of entrepreneurs would take advantage of that. So nobody is guilty until proven innocent, or the other way around. It doesn't matter. However, if you feel that you can stand in the court of law and say, I needed this to provide services, and I needed this, my employer said specifically this lip gloss only, then you kind of have this opportunity to deduct this. However, because we can say, okay, I need nails, I need this, I need that, and I need that, right? So you would say, okay, you cannot deduct this under your business, but you can ask for your employer to cover those expenses So on your books, it would be wash, wash, 0, 0, right? You spend, let's just say, okay, in order for me to prepare to flight on this airlines, I need to spend $300. So your employer or your client would pass that on to the client, saying, okay, just make the prices higher.
Okay.
Because on the books, you cannot okay, so let's just look at this different way. So you have income, right? Income. All right. So inside of your income, whatever you charge to your employer or as an independent contractor, right? Whatever you charge, let's say you charge $10,000. Okay, that's your contract. You're gonna fly. You're gonna get $10,000. And then the client or employer comes back and says, okay, but you need to look this way, this way, this way, this way. You go back home and you say, okay, in order for me to look this way, I'm going to spend, let's say, $3,000 to look presentable for that client, right? So your expenses already $3,000. So your net would be $7,000, right? So what you say, okay, so I understand you want me to look this way. And that's how much it's going to cost you more. So instead of 10, you're going to ask for 13. I know it's kind of counterproductive and it's unfair, but you need to understand the other side because there is a lot of ways to abuse this rule. Ordinary and necessary, ordinary and necessary. If you want to kind of do, okay, I did spend $3,000 right here. Awesome. But I also got reimbursed by the employer or the client with this. So on your books, you wouldn't write something, eyelashes or nails expense or anything, because none of this will be deductible. The IRS will look at your tax return and say, what is that? So the way you would do, you would say, okay, in order for me to go and on this flight, it would be your project. I spent on that project before I started the project, I spent $3,000. And then when I got $13,000, you would just move this 3 and 3, it's going to be 0 on your tax return, right? And you're going to have only income of 10,000. This way it's wash, wash. You got your expenses reimbursed back. Oops, hold on, I need to move forward. Sorry about that. What happened? And by the way, just here's my best advice that I can give to you. So number one, be super transparent. If you believe that this is such an ordinary and necessary expense, put it on your tax return, put it on your P&L, profit and loss statement, just put it there. All right, so you say $10,000 income, and then you spend $8,000 on, and then see what you spend that money on. Nails, shoes, clothes, facial, whatever, it doesn't matter. So when you look at this and you say, okay, actually, I only get $2,000 as a net income, you come back and say, you have kind of the data to renegotiate the contract, saying like, you want me to look beautiful? No problem, pay me more. You want additional? Pay me more. But in order for you to do any of that, profit and loss statement, bookkeeping, records right here, because numbers don't lie unless you put, 2 + 2 = 5.
Yeah.
And it's okay. So I want you to understand, like, transparency is the key, because you can stand firmly and say, this is my business. This is how much I made. This is how much I spent. Let's negotiate. With your client, with your employer or somebody else. With the IRS, you cannot negotiate like this. Because they come say, okay, first of all, was that yacht ordinary and necessary expense for your tax practice? I can say, you know what? I meet my clients in the ocean because my clients are the fanciest stars ever. If I can prove that George Clooney flies to my yacht, not a big deal. So transparency and integrity.
Okay, great. Thank you for that clarification.
All right.
I don't want to keep asking questions, so go ahead.
Okay.
We'll have questions at the end. So if that brought up questions for anybody, please be writing those down, and we'll have some time for Q&A at the end.
All right, so that's probably kind of self-explanatory. Let's talk about legal entities. I love LLCs. I love sole proprietors. Partnerships are amazing. However, when you decide to be in a partnership, make sure that you have 51% and somebody will have 49%. This way, you're still the boss. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. There is no entity, you're a sole proprietor. One day you wake up, you go to the mirror, you say, okay, I want to be in business, and boom, you are in business, right? What it means that you start following business rules, you're going to report your income, you're going to keep accurate books and records, you're going to file the tax returns and all that good stuff. And then, okay, so I feel fine, I make some money. When is the time for me to get an LLC? And that's basically the biggest question that you probably have, right? The timing. When should I open an LLC? So you have a pen, let's write it down. So first of all, it depends which state you live in. California loves to charge you $800 just to get you an LLC, okay? For the opportunity to play on the California market, business market. Some states are easier, some states are free. It doesn't matter, you just need to do your research. However, let's just pretend I have this situation. I am a single mom. I have a car, my dream car. I have a house and I have a tax practice. Okay, I'm a sole proprietor. What does it mean? That means there is no legal entity that would protect my personal assets if something happens. If I accidentally make some mistakes on the tax return, the client comes after me and says, okay, I'm going to sue you. He's going to go after my personal assets. So question number one, do you have personal assets that somebody can go after? America is an amazing country, loves suing. So that's number one. If you have a lot of personal assets, you need to protect that. If you put them into the trust or some kind of entity, that's great. However, if you don't have anything, this is the time to think about LLC. LLC is a limited liability company. So it's in the name, limited liability. Everything, whatever is happening under this umbrella of your company will stay there. It's not going to go bite you somewhere, right? So it's limited. So first of all, assets. Next question would be, are you in the industry with high risk? Tax world, yes. Medical, yes. Probably your world too, I would think. So when we're talking about you have a business just selling pies, probably too, because it could be poison or whatever, right? So that's number two. Number three, do you have a lot of income inside of that business? Because sometimes cost versus benefits, it's not ideal. So think about this. Next one would be, who do you work with? Who are your clients? Are they individuals, grandmas who don't know legal system, or these are foreigners and you deal with them and they're a little shady and you want to protect your personal assets and not to get in a lawsuit, okay? Next would be, are you selling services or you're selling a product? If you're selling services, it's kind of a little easier because if the product is damaged or something, so you will be more liable. However, sit down and literally answer the questions that would be page 8 and literally, where am I? Because depending on which situation you're in, what you have at stake, how much risk are you willing to take, you will make that decision. Again, if you want to sell your business. Another one would be, I am so cool, I have an LLC for my business. And what I mean by that is a real reputation. Mm-hmm. Right? You want a brand, you want a reputation, you want, another way would be like, instead of saying Jenia Serebrin, I could say Serebrin Group LLC. That's what I am operating from, mm-hmm. Right? Or I can say something Flowers LLC. So if I want to hide me a little bit, my identity, and present it with my LLC, it's kind of, it looks very official. You have an LLC, you have your business account, you have that protection, right? Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, what's the best time to switch to an LLC? It's right now, or anytime you decide it's the time to switch to an LLC. A lot of CPAs, like from old school, they would say, well, if you have an income of less than $100,000, then it's not worth for you to go into expenses like this. Mm-hmm. I look at it differently. Again, what's your intention? Do you want to be fancy with this reputation? Serebrin Group LLC rocks, or you're thinking about protecting your assets, limiting your liabilities, or you're about saving money. If you don't have many assets, okay, go after me. I don't have anything, right? Mm-hmm. Take my bite.
Right.
That kind of thing. So, all right.
Yeah, and I would say that in our industry, obviously there's lots of room to be sued, right, ladies who are on this call and gentlemen that might pop in at some point and watch the replay. But you know, yes, the operators that we fly for carry their own insurance and they have their own liability insurance, and it protects only so far. But when somebody wants to sue in a situation, they go all the way from the top to the bottom. And so when you're in an industry where we're dealing with very expensive equipment and you make a mistake on, you know, you blow up the coffee maker or something like that, or you spill red wine and the whole carpet needs to be replaced, there is an opportunity that they would come after you. And you could say, well, I don't have the money. And they say, well, let's go ahead and take your car. Okay. So that's what Jenia is talking about. Really quickly, when you said there's an $800 fee, is that one time or annually?
$800 franchise
for
tax.
California.
For California. So California is a wonderful country.
Yeah.
It's not a state, it's a country.
Country for taking all your money. Agreed.
And by the way, if you notice, you get notices faster, your tax returns get processed faster in the state of California because it's all about generating income. All right, so when you open an LLC, it's pretty fast, easy. You can do it on the website, Secretary of State of California, $17. Don't forget to file statement of information. You pay $20. If you forget, you're gonna penalize with $250. Okay.
That happened to me this year. It's not fun, ladies. So write these things down in your calendar to organize yourself when those things are going to be expiring or need to be renewed.
Remember, they will send you a nice brochure with tiny little font that you cannot see. However, go on the website, you can find it. So for annual tax, $800, it's a FTB tax, franchise tax. Then if your gross receipts, not the net income, gross receipts is $250, there is a fee of $900, and it goes up and up and up. And I want you to pay that fee. That means that you're making a bunch of money. If you didn't notice, I am pro taxes. I want people to pay taxes. It means that they're making money. I'm also for making sure that when you report all your income, you get advantage of all possible deductions allowable and allowed under the law. You're supposed to pay this much in tax and not a penny more. And who decides that? Well, basically you decide within the law, transparency. And you know, we say that tax and bookkeeping is just a gray area. There is a white, there is black, and there is gray, depending on what's your risk level and your risk tolerance. So, however, if you operate from integrity, from clarity, numbers are fun, you will want to stay on the white side and you will want to sleep better, okay? While IRS and FTB, California governments, they are slow to get back to you on your tax return, they will come back. That's why keep all your receipts, keep all your contracts, protect yourself with insurance, all sorts of liability kind of coverage. Go there, make sure that your baby is protected. And it's protected in a way like a mom's care.
Mm-hmm. So really quickly since we talked on, you know, authenticity and making sure that we are only submitting for ordinary necessary expenses. So I've had the pleasure of being audited twice, my company being audited twice. It's very, very not fun. And luckily, you know, I had all my ducks in the row. However, one of the things that hurt me was the information that was written on the receipt. Now, this was a few years ago, so I don't know if taxes have changed, but what, if any, information needs to be on that receipt in order to validate that expense? The other area I got missed on was entertainment expenses for clients, and not having that coincide with my calendar. So they like look at everything, ladies and gentlemen. So I didn't know that, right? And so unfortunately, even though they were legit expenses, I got audited for them and had to pay because I did not document correctly the expenses or have the calendar meeting backed up. So is that still a thing? What's changed?
All right, so let's start from little things. Let's just say you take your client on a business lunch, and the restaurant provides the customized order for you. First of all, 2021, 2022 tax years, this is going to be 100% deductible for your business. Okay, and back before it was 50%. So great thing, right? Okay, you get 100% deduction. However, when you get the receipt and it's over $75, usually the general rule, if the receipt is less than $75, you don't need to keep the receipt. General rule. However, I always advise just keep the receipt, you know, and if you go take the client to a restaurant, it's always over $75 to begin with, right? So you get this receipt. On the back, you will write meeting with and the person. If there were more people, you just put that down. Then you scan it, attach it to your QuickBooks Online or whatever software you have, or you keep it, and that's all. I know it's a little focused and oriented and boring. However, this would have saved your audit, and you would probably get a deduction and all that good stuff. Okay, look at it differently. So why the IRS wants you to present all the receipts, wants you to have that substantiation. Remember when you were an employee, okay? So you get your paycheck and you see that there were some withholdings out of that paycheck. Okay, so you already paid taxes on that. Awesome. At the end of the year, in January sometime, you get the W-2. The W-2 actually puts together the amount that how much you made, how much you paid in taxes, and all that good stuff, right? So the second that your employer gives you a copy of W-2, the IRS gets the same copy. When you file a tax return, two forms match, you're good. Here with us, entrepreneurs, sole proprietors, LLC owners, there is no checks like this. So what they do, okay, for this industry, we have kind of within this amount, expenses within this range. And we see a business that's kind of weird and it has a lot of expenses under this category. Let's just check. And then they come to you and like, okay, great. We see you have all these expenses. Can we see the receipts? The same thing. They just want to match. That's all. So kind of fair, right? You have the receipts, you have the substantiation, you have that. It's all fair. So that's why I'm saying you keep the receipts, you write down all the things that you did, 15 minutes a week. That will be fine. You will remember that. And no problem.
So another question really quick. Do credit card statements count in lieu of a receipt?
Yes and no. Rule number one that I learned working for the attorney's office, never give more information than it's needed. When you provide the bank statements, what are you providing? Real life, pretty much. And when it's too much information, they not only look for the ones that you want them to see, but they also will look for the whatever diamond ring you put on your card. Right? So do not open the Pandora box unless it's necessary. That's something that accountants would kind of tell you not to do. And at the same time, think about if you put everything nicely, if you do not commingle funds, personal and business, you have the statement that's ideal, you're in integrity, all the expenses are business, then yes, go ahead. That's ideal world, right? Okay, so back to your question, if I don't have the receipt, they might ask for the receipt. Usually they do ask for the receipt, and they would usually identify which one they want the receipts for. They wouldn't ask you, let's say for 2021, we are auditing this item on your tax return, this particular line, can you provide all the receipts, all substantiation, and you would need to pull that stuff. So let's say if you have the bank statement and it says Verizon, that could work. And I've seen the audits where they're like, okay, there's a Verizon, you're good. However, sometimes it's unclear. And by the way, did you notice that when you pay through Zelle, Venmo, whatever else, they don't specifically identify who you are, Apple Pay. You don't see who you pay. So it creates so much confusion for bookkeepers, by the way. Nightmare for us because we don't see the data. We don't see who the vendor was. So if you use that, always write down, go back and do your bookkeeping and see, okay, that money went to this.
On the statement. Okay. Great.
All right. So, and again, remember, there are two different things. Statement is for bookkeeping. Receipts is for proof to the IRS. Two different things. You can separate them. Never put your books off the receipts. Nightmare. Remember when you have a year worth of receipts in your box?
Yeah, miserable.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. And the print fades off the receipt, so it's not great either because then all you have is a blank paper at the end of the year.
Scan everything. Everything is electronic anyway these days. By the way, you also have an option when you purchase something at the stores, email the receipt so, to your business, or maybe create a specific email address where you could put all your receipts. That will expedite your time.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, I love that. Great.
All right. That's pretty much all my little program that I had. I teach the course. If somebody is interested in more about this, you just ask Stephanie for more details or Lauren. Basically, right now, I'm all open to all your questions.
Okay, great. So ladies, there's a chat box down below. Just click on that if you have any questions or you need clarifying questions on anything that Jenia has shared with us today, then go ahead and pop those into the chat box. I might have a few more as far as expenses. So in many ways, I feel like you just told us everything that we cannot expense and where, so it's kind of like, where are the tax savings then, right? Where do we start to see, because, you know, you hear the stories on the news, like, oh, this is a billionaire and he pays very little in taxes and oh, it's fraud. But really, they just know the tax law really well and they know where to find those tax benefits. So can you share what some of these tax benefits are? And here and there's a question in here. Oh, and then the next question in here is, what about writing off cell phone bills? So.
All right, so let's start from the very beginning. Number one, disclaimer, I'm not your tax preparer. Okay, I do not know your situation. I do not specifically advise. What I'm giving you, the general knowledge. All right, so you have more questions, reach out. Then we'll talk, we'll sit down, create, and you tell me more so I can produce exactly what you need. Right, so having said that, let's think about it this way. I'm a small business owner, right? I have, let's just say I don't have an office, but I operate from my house. So in my house, I created a space that's called home office. All right. So let's just imagine for a second, you all work from your houses. You have the utility bills, you have the internet bill, you have the electricity, water, telephone, all these little things, right? Okay. So let's just think a little business-wise. If you didn't work off from your house, you would need to rent that space, right? Somewhere else, and you would pay for telephone, internet, and all that stuff, right? Okay. How is it different when you are going and renting it out, or you're renting out from yourself? So let's just say I have 1,000 square feet for my house and I use 200 square feet for my business. At the end of the year, and usually so the way it works, you would take the expenses proportionally to that space. Let's just say I pay rent. It works better when you're renting. When you own the house, it's a little bit more complicated, but it's also possible. And yes, a lot of celebrities and fancy people take all available deductions, right? So let's just say you're renting that space and you paid $10,000 per year. You used, let's just say for the sake of this argument, 10% of that for your business, that space, all of that. So you just literally take $1,000 and you put on your business, and you would write that on the line, rent expense $1,000. Telephone. How much are you using your telephone for business? I use it 90% of the time. So you have two options. You're either your business pays for the telephone, and then you create this little journal entry when you take 10% and you remove it from your profit and loss statement. I know I'm talking gibberish right now, so just stay with me. You guys need to understand bookkeeping, right? Bookkeeping, journal entry. One side gets increased when the other goes down. When you earn money, money gets put into your bank account, what? Numbers go up. Awesome. When you spend that money, your bank account decreases, your expense goes up, right? So it's everywhere. Sometimes when we forget about this, some part is missing. So the same thing. When you use your personal stuff for business, your house, your car, your telephone, your kid, joking, for business, you take specific percentage. And you know, the important part is to document it. And the way you say, okay, board meeting, during that board meeting, and I know it's a painful procedure, but the IRS wants to see that January 1st, you had a meeting, and for your LLC, you were present there, and because you, let's say you used your telephone 80% of the time, 80% of all annual cost was deducted from your business, was, expensed. And you documented that, showing, you can say, look at my receipts from the Verizon bill. Let's just be honest, all entrepreneurs use our own stuff all the time. There's no need for home phone, office phone anymore. We just use the cell phone. Take that deduction. It's nowhere different from if you just rented it out somewhere else. These are little things that a lot of entrepreneurs forget. Another thing is that what you guys forget is, when you're in a loss, I don't have any loss, you just decide, like the fun part is, I had this business for 3 years, but I didn't make any money, and I spent a lot of money, so I didn't report anything. Wait a second, there is such thing as a net operating loss that we can move to the next year. And then next year, when you make a bunch of money, you would pay less of income tax, because that reduces. And there is no way for the IRS to see that you actually spend that money if you don't report that on your tax return. Taxes are fun if you put it in the system. Taxes are fun if you just like, okay, I am in business. This is my baby. I take care of my baby. I report all my income. IRS cannot come back to me and say, hey, you forgot to report all income. They can say, okay, good, you did a good job reporting your income. How about deductions? And you're like, boom, you have all your receipts. The professor at my university, he was the deputy blah, blah, IRS. And he basically says, if you have an audit, make your timing somewhere 4:30 p.m. and come prepared with a bag of all your receipts, very nicely organized. Presentation is everything, right? when it's already too late during the day, when an agent is a little tired and you came all prepared, all in integrity, all proud of all the stuff that you've put together and saved, right? There is no additional questions. Another little thing that I need you, I kind of want to deliver to you. There are people on the other side, and they are working, and they don't know you. If you get flagged, congratulations, you're noticed. IRS acknowledged you. It doesn't mean you did something wrong. It just means that, okay. Sometimes it's just a notice that says, we see that you did this. Thank you so much, right? So don't have a heart attack if you get a notice. Just read it. Sometimes once I had a client, it was not even for him, but he looked at it was IRS notice. It was not even for him. Heart attack right there. So did I answer your question? And I know I have a lot of details. You're muted. Stephanie, I cannot see. If you're talking to me, you're muted.
I was muted. Okay, sorry. So we have a few other questions. I was just saying we did answer Deanna's question about the cell phone bill. You write off a percentage of that bill. If you use it 100% for business, great. But if you ever call your mom on it, not business. So you write off that percentage. Okay. What's the best place to apply for an LLC? So you mentioned the site earlier, but where can they go? And if they're intimidated to do this process by themselves, what do you have a service that you think is a good one for them to use?
So in the state of California, we can have like 20-minute little course training, whatever. You just call me like this, come in, whoever is in the state of California, and I'll walk you through. That's one option. It's very easy. It's the only thing, you know what, ask me a little bit later. I have a checklist, what you need to have before everything happens. And by that, I mean, come up with 3 names. So 3 names, have your credit card ready because it's $70 to the Secretary of State. You get it right away. It's like I put together for my other client within like 20 minutes. So it's not a rocket science. So we don't usually use any systems, any kind of companies for that, because for my clients, I was like, don't do that. Let's just, for startups, cash is everything, cash flow. So if we can get it done within 20 minutes, it doesn't make sense to go and pay a lot of money, especially attorneys. However, just remember, getting an advice from somebody who knows your industry legally is never a bad investment. Number 2, remember that it was an ordinary and necessary expense. Yes, your company, your LLC has not started yet. It's not in an existence. However, it's on already your startup expense. It can be deducted. Okay.
Yes. So that's $70 to be deducted, and then to whatever, and then the statement of information. Statement
of information, $20 within the first 90 days.
Okay, so that's good to know, because we did go onto a service that we found online called LegalZoom, and they were charging $249 for an attorney to run this through you, run it for you. So way better. Maybe we'll do a follow-up workshop, or maybe we sit down. I think you only specialize in California. So if you're not in California, then you would want to find somebody in your area. A bookkeeper, CPA, what would be the title they would look for to have somebody help them with that?
Okay, so remember, you pay for knowledge. If bookkeeper $15 an hour tells you, oh, I can do this, I wouldn't trust. Not because I have some preferences. It's just like, if you know what you're doing, you would not be charging $15 an hour. So different state, you go for ask around, ask referrals, feedback, look at the feedback about this particular provider.
Okay. All righty. Okay, so Keisha asked, do you use the same method of documenting your expenses for a full-time job versus your LLC? Can you make deductions with a full-time job if it's an ordinary and necessary expense?
All right, so Two things, apple and orange. When you're a full-time employee, you're an employee. You cannot deduct pretty much anything. You're an employee. So you get paid. If you have any expenses, you would negotiate with your employer and get them reimbursed. That's it. There is no tax return for that specific business when you're a full-time employee. You just get W-2. That's it. You go and fill out 1040 and you're done. Okay. So you can be full-time employee and you can have a sidekick, your business, and it can be a business and it's all fine, right? It could be an LLC. And this is decide that when you start to ask yourself a question, can I put this on business? Was it ordinary and necessary? One thing I really want to kind of teach you guys a little bit. When you start a business, make sure that it's a business. And by this, what I mean is the following. There's a lot of people who are so amazing. They have this passion and they create something amazing, and it's usually considered a hobby. Hobby when I am in love with, planting flowers all over the place, and boom, one day I got paid for that. I sold something and I got money. According to the IRS, I must report that income, period. Okay. And was that my hobby? Yes. Was I in this activity for money, for profit? No. Okay. While I was growing those flowers, I spent so much money, you won't believe. Whatever I received it's nowhere close to what I spent. And I'm like, okay, great. I'm supposed to report $1,000 that I received for that flower, and I spent 100 grand to raise that flower, right? To create that. IRS says, no, wait a second. That was your hobby. You're not in business. You cannot expense anything, but you must report income. Okay. IRS has specific 9 questions. 9 questions to determine that you are in business. Otherwise, we are all going to be in this business that's kind of hobby, right? Because it's not fair. When it comes down to business, you make money, you deduct all your expenses, whatever you spend for this business, and you are left with your net income or your loss. You're good. So I think on the, not on this, on the other one, I'll send you to, I provided a workbook that literally put together all 9 questions. One of them is just like, are you in business for profit? Have you talk to somebody who is helping you, who is knowledgeable enough? Do you keep accurate records and all that good stuff? Basically, if you're playing the business game, you're in business. If you're all over the place, mixing, commingling funds, you're mostly in a hobby activity. IRS loves looking at sole proprietors and even LLC members. And basically they say, if you're in business, and if you don't make any money, you're always in a loss. We will come and look. Maybe you're not in business. Maybe it's actually a hobby and you're smart enough, you're thinking that you can deduct little things, all your expenses under this LLC. So be careful. 3 out of 5 years need to show some profit. Okay.
That is really great. Yeah, that was really good. So, so to sum it up, right, is do not commingle your personal and your business expenses. So if you do want to run as a sole proprietor or an LLC, then these expenses must be kept separately, which is what we teach you at Sky Angel Sky Academy, is get a separate credit card, have a separate email address, have a separate bank account, like just separate. Even if you're an employee right now, separate it, right? Because you might get to a point where you want to be a independent contractor. And so you'll already have this set up and you'll already be used to that. The next thing you said is to create a system for itemizing your receipts. So yes, when I got audited, everything was digital, except everything needed to be printed and presented to them. We were whatever. So to Jenia's point, I had to do all mine virtual. I didn't go into the office. And so, but bring the box, a very Sky Angel 10, beautiful, crisp pages organized, and you will actually, you will scare them in the sense that they're like, oh, forget it. This person's super organized. They've been dotting their I's and crossing their T's. So we don't want to waste our time going through it, right? If you come with a shoebox of crumpled up receipts and there's something here and there's something there, then they're like, okay, we've got something here. We're going to get money out of this person. Okay. So be organized, be SkyAngel 10 organized in how you manage your receipts, put notes on it as far as what that expense was for, to help you remember, and also in the event that you get audited. Trust me, it is a freaking nightmare to be audited. You do not want to go through this process not being organized. Thankfully, I had an amazing bookkeeper who took care of all of it for me and organized everything, because if it had been on my watch, it would have been a wreck, and I would have owed the additional $60,000 that the IRS was coming after me at. But because I was organized, or I helped her be organized by sending things to her, and she kept things organized, we were able to reduce that $60,000 that the IRS was coming after us for, and reduce it down to $3,000. Still sucked to pay the $3,000, but huge benefit to staying organized. It's cost effective for you to stay organized. Dedicate time every day once a week to sit down and do this. As SkyAngels, obviously we do this every day when we're on a trip, because we know what a nightmare it is to manage everything that we just spent money on at the end of a trip, right? It's overwhelming. So make sure, I would say, dedicate every day, make sure that you're at least scanning your receipts, right? And then once a week, dedicate time to really go through your books and go, okay, did everything get entered in correctly? Ask yourself, is it an ordinary and necessary expense? Okay, if it is, what percentage of that expense is business related versus personal use? And be super transparent in everything that you do. SkyAngels are honest. Okay, we run ourselves from a place of transparency and honesty, and through that, that's where you get those amazing tax benefits on the backside. So let me see. Oh, we have a few more questions. Shoot, I didn't scroll. Do we have more time? I don't want to take up more of your time. Do you have to hop off?
No, I'm good. Let's go.
Okay. So let's see. Chrissy said, if we work for a charter company as an employee, can we still write off necessary items as tax deductions? No, I think we answered that one, right? So if you are getting paid W-2 at the end of the year, you have no expenses to write off. You would have to create a LLC, become a contractor, and have a completely separate business. So if you are an employee for a charter company, but you moonlight and you do a couple of contract flights on the side, then yes, you can write off all those expenses. You can write off some of your phone at that point, whatever percentage is related to those contract flights. And then Jenia, pop in at any time if I'm not speaking correctly, right?
Okay, so just remember for a second, and just think about this way. I have a bookkeeping practice, tax practice. If I hire a bookkeeper, this bookkeeper cannot be an independent contractor, because she's going to provide the services in the line that I'm doing. If I hire a legal person to help me with the contract, I do not need to put him on my payroll. It will be an independent contractor. So think about your industry, where you are. If it's I don't particularly know, charter company, and they handle the employees for their flight attendants for the airlines, so probably not, you must be an employee. So, but they would tell you exactly how they want to structure their kind of the relationship with you.
Yes. Also, if we have more than one business with overlapping expenses, is it best to have separate LLCs?
Okay, so let's not have 10,000 LLCs, because it's going to be a nightmare. Okay, so number one, one business, one baby. Two businesses, two babies. Okay, if they're somewhere in the same industry, in the same area, you can have one LLC and kind of run it under, because you don't want to kind of be all over the place. For your own bookkeeping, for your own analyzing thing, you would need inside of, let's say, QuickBooks, you would classify them business A, business B, and you'll see, okay, this business produces more money. I'm going to focus on this just for analytical kind of purposes. However, if there are like two different completely, like let's say being a flight attendant and then rental, you might want to have two LLCs that would hold, because these are two completely different businesses. If there's like, treat them like kids, different treatment, the same business rules.
Okay.
So hopefully and overlapping expenses, again, you just do percentage wise. If you use a phone, 50% for this business, 50% for that one, you just allocate. It's easier to do in QuickBooks or any other software. However, it's just like overlap. Don't allow overlapping. And if it happens, you just kind of reimburse from one company to another. You're supposed to have different business bank account anyway.
Okay.
So,
okay. And what do you recommend for bookkeeping program or specific method?
I love QuickBooks. QuickBooks Desktop, if you want desktop, it's kind of cheapest version. You purchase a subscription and it's with you forever. After 3 years, you won't be able to download bank statements, bank transactions, or QuickBooks Online. Just because I know it pretty well, and it's kind of right there. You can download on your phone. You can basically put the transactions as they're happening, right? And then scan, put the receipt attached to this. Everything is done. Everything's in the air. You can reach it out or like open browser from any computer.
Yeah, so we use QuickBooks Online in our company, and it is really nice because it will sync all of our earnings that come in through Stripe, Squarespace, PayPal, any of that stuff. And, you know, we have different revenue streams in our company. So instead of creating separate LLCs for the different revenue streams, it all funnels in. And to your point, you can see where you're making your most money and where your higher expenses are too. So now to adjust that accordingly.
Right.
Okay. Keisha asked, do your deductibles only begin the day you start your LLC? For example, if I made up a website for my business prior to my LLC start date, can I still expense it?
All right, so we have startup expenses. Okay, so all of this is deductible. You just need to keep a track of that. Up to 5,000 you can deduct in the current year, and then the rest will be amortized. Okay, which means you will slowly drip it over specific years. However, just remember, whatever you spent on business is business expense, period. It doesn't matter if your LLC started like 2 months later because you hired LegalZoom and it took them a while and all that good stuff, you know, or maybe before you went and talked to an attorney and he charged you $10,000. It is an expense. It was your personal contribution into the business. Yes, it didn't go through the bank account, business bank account, but it is an expense. Do not lose these deductions.
Yeah. Yes, they're great. Vehicles can be deducted.
Okay,
right?
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
2 ways. You can purchase, if you can purchase a vehicle under the company, that would be best. The company owns the vehicle and you would use it for business purposes only. And whatever you charge on your credit card for gas, maintenance, repairs, DMV registration fees will be all business expense. Okay, imagine you have a car and it's a personal car, you use it for business. 2 ways. You can record your miles. So let's say from this to this, you just 2,000 miles, right? So I think it's either 56 or 54 miles, 54 cents per mile. So your travel auto expense, right? For travel auto expense, it would be, you would take that deduction, auto expense, mileage. Usually, so 2 ways, actual and mileage. Actual and the program, the tax software, this is the question for your tax person. You would bring, let's say, this year I spent $10,000 for car expenses, auto expenses. That was gas, all of the repairs and all that stuff. And I used only 80% for business. So 20% would be not deductible. The tax person would put that in the program. It would calculate based on mileage if you also kept the mileage log. or actual, and the program will choose, okay, this year it would be beneficial to go with actual because the actual expenses were higher. Okay. So use the good judgment in terms of when it comes to the car. If you use for personal, your business car used for personal, okay, you just say we cannot deduct this. We'll just remove that percentage of the profit and loss statement. It's going to increase your net income a little bit, but you'll be in integrity with yourself.
Yes. And then you can sleep at night.
Oh, you can sleep so well at night because knowing everything is well.
Because you know the IRS isn't coming after you. With 87,000 new IRS agents being hired, our tax dollars being paid to hire these individuals to come after you, right? You want to make sure that you have your ducks in a row. So just be honest, deduct where you can deduct. And I personally find so much comfort in hiring a professional to do that because I know I'm not good at it. So business advice from your mama angel here is know what your strengths and weaknesses are. To Jenia's point, if it's very small and it's very manageable, great. But if it starts to become unmanageable, or even if it's, small, but you're not dedicating the time to it, then you should hire somebody to help you with that. And if you don't have that much, then it's going to be a small amount of money per month to dive into your books and take care of the bookkeeping, which is what I did. It was the first person I ever hired was a bookkeeper because I knew where my weaknesses were. And I knew that I didn't want to get to a place where I didn't know my numbers and I didn't understand where my expenses are going and where I could cut expenses in order to generate more revenue or use those expenses for other more viable things. What about like marketing expenses and stuff like that? Is there LinkedIn membership account? Is that a write-off?
All of that is deductible, 100%. So, and the questioning about the SkyAngel fees, right? If you decide, if it helps you to advance in your career, if it's good for you, business coach, bookkeeper, marketing agency, whatever you do for business to generate more income, it's all deduction. It's all deductible, right? I just had a thought about it, went away. I might remember. Okay, so but basically, in order for you to generate more income, you need to do something, right? It's either hiring a bookkeeper so you can actually take time and be in the activity that generates that income. Two options. When it comes down to finances, bookkeeping, compliance, all of this good stuff, you have literally just two options. There is no option to procrastinate and put your head in the sand. Option number one, you learn about this stuff and you start doing it yourself. And option number two, you outsource. There is no in between. You're in the business game. If you're not doing that, guess who you are? You have an amazing hobby and you must report all your income and deductions won't be allowed. Okay. In terms of, I think the bookkeepers or something like this, like I said, it's a bookkeeping program. My intention for all my clients, yes, you can outsource. Yes, you can find a bookkeeper. However, I would love you to learn how to read financials and understand this stuff yourself first. When you do that, you have the power. Do not give the power away. Right? Let's say only you know your business well, your baby well. When you spend money and you just produce all the documents to your bookkeepers, if the bookkeeper books everything without asking questions, run, because they book everything based on their prior knowledge or the little, let's say if it's a Verizon bill, yes, they would book it properly. If it's something else and they cannot identify and they didn't ask you, run, because you don't know the quality of financials that they're producing. Okay. You as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, must understand how the financials work. You need to read the data, enjoy the data, analyze the data, make a decision, sound financial decision based on that, just because this is how you can make a better decision, right? If you have income, okay, awesome. Let's talk. You have a lot of income, congratulations, which means that you're doing something well. Let's put that money into a different area, different industry. Let's shift that. Taxes is not about paying a lot of money to the government so they can kind of do this. Taxes is all about, it's a game, right? You have a lot of money. Let's just grow it. Let's just put it in a different industry so that can defer this, right? It's all within the law. You will grow your company. When you grow, the community around you grows too, right? You do pay tax. And I advise everybody to pay taxes because it's fun, right? You give that money back to your community that gave a lot of things that you benefited from a lot. And then that industry goes, the government goes and builds schools. And then your kids go to that school. So I am for clarity, transparency, paying taxes, and make it all fun. So you're not you're not procrastinating. And please don't be scared of any of this. Okay, when you understand, when you touch, maybe at the beginning, it's a little scary, it's a little unknown, but then when you know it's going to be boring, so make it fun, make it exciting, and do not give away your power.
Yes, I love that. So if you still have questions, if you're like, yes, I want to start an LLC, or I want to hire a bookkeeper or tax professional, is there a way for them to get into contact with you, and what's the best way to do that?
JeniaSerebrin.com.
Okay, perfect.
Or ask you for the details. Okay, so a little bit, just if I may, I am asking for your permission. So this is what my mission is. My mission is to teach each entrepreneur, especially moms, especially single moms, especially somebody who actually wants to take control of their finances, teach them that it's very easy. You just need to sit down, put yourself in the right space, and it's all possible. So I teach the course that basically prepares you with whatever businesses you have, because you will apply it in different industries, the same rules. The course that would give you that foundation and will get access to my brain. And it's basically 6 live trainings. Tomorrow is the first one, but that's going to be pre-recorded. And during that class, it's basically the same. I teach one topic, and then you ask me questions. You go back home, you put your business together, you look at this, you write it down. Every Wednesday, I have workshops. People come and just ask questions. And you know, it's fun to learn, it's fun to help, and it's fun to make sure that as a small businesses, we grow and go somewhere. So if you would like to join me, jump in. If you have any questions, just go find me online, text me.
Okay, and so what is the cost for that course?
Okay, right now we do discount, it's $249, but like around $250. So this is what you get. You join in, and this is exactly what you get. You get the knowledge of legal entities. You got the knowledge from bookkeeping standpoint, and then taxes. So let's say I'm going to talk to you how to put together your head. Don't be scared. It's all about your mindset. Then we're going to sit down and think about your business income and your business expenses and how to classify those. You know that sometimes you get membership fees, right? You get all sorts of subscriptions. Where to put them? Do I put Audible? I usually use Audible for my business because I always buy the books for businesses, right? That would be my business. I do not read or listen to anything personally unless it teaches me business strategy. So that's my that's my business expense, right? So another portion of that course focuses on expenses. The next one would be LLC. So if we want to go in further and become fancier, an S Corp. S Corp is the way to go if you are a little bit more stable, you make money. And this is where you can be an employee of your own company. When you're an employee, there are more flexibility. So what you can put under this, and it's all within the law, it's all within legal system, right? Then we will talk about a lot of other things. But basically, once you're done with me, you can organize any business you want. You can use the same structure. I'll teach you how to record your expenses, how to save the contract, for how long you need to keep them, right? And all that good stuff. You know, it's like, it's fun when you can apply whatever you learn from us. You can apply in different businesses and create that foundation. For example, it's just an example. I teach how to prepare the plan for, so let's just say you are alone right now, you work a lot. Oh my God, nobody, I'm sorry. That's because
Gotta turn that timer off.
So imagine you have your own business and you are ready, you're growing, you're about to start, you're ready to hire somebody. So the test that I do is just, okay, tell me an instruction how to put together the sandwich, right? So when you write down how to prepare a sandwich, you would write what bread you're going to use, where you're going to get the jam, which refrigerator, what kind of jam, and all that good stuff. The same thing comes down to business. So during this course, you get that, how to do that, where to take this, where to save, how to save, why to save. And then the fun part is, once we're done with the bookkeeping, expenses, income expenses, and the net, we're going to look at the tax. Okay. And by the way, November, the end of December is the perfect time to do that. The reason for this is we can do something about it. I'm sorry, I cannot help you in January if you have a lot of income. Right. I'm sorry.
Now you have until December 31st to figure out what can be written off as an expense and what needs to be purchased in order to offset some of your income.
Right. Prepay your rent. Buy that printer, Black Friday. Amazing. So I cannot advise you on anything if I don't see your financials. You cannot give me financials if you don't have your bookkeeping system in place. So this is pretty much what I teach. And if you don't want to learn, you want to hire us, just hire us.
All right. So this is obviously an amazing opportunity. She's giving us a discount. I think it's like she normally spends or charges $300 for this course. She's bestowing a gift to us of $50. So if you wanted to enroll in this, this is $249, $250 or something right around that dollar.
Somewhere.
We do have the link. I think what we can do is follow up with everybody who registered and share that link with them. Again, it starts tomorrow though. Do you have a link where they can actually register right now in the chat?
You can register. So this is what life happens. Even though it's a live training, life happens for the first recording. And just because life happened, I'd love to give you an opportunity for 30-minute free consultation with me, just because the first one is not live. The next 5 will be live. They will start 9 a.m. every Wednesday until December 21st. So we will be done. This is a business expense also. You get the recording, you get the link, you keep it forever, you save it. Just remember, law changes. So whatever I teach right now, whatever in that course right now, it's good for right now for the next year only. Basic is still there. In the accounting and tax with Jen, I do little videos. Sometimes I do the trainings or workshops. You can follow there. But stay connected.
Okay, great. All right, we will get that link over to you ladies to be able to pay and register for that. Is that correct, or do they just contact you?
It's whatever is easier.
Okay, well, we'll figure that out together, and I'll make sure that everybody who registered for this webinar gets that. If you're watching the replay of this and you didn't pre-register for this, then go ahead and send an email to at flyskyangels.com and say that you're interested in taking this course or working with Jenia. And then we'll take it from there. Again, my name is Stephanie Kisling. I'm the founder and creator of Sky Angels, the #1 resource in helping you launch your career in private aviation. And part of our goal and our passion is not just to provide amazing training to help you transition into this career, but to help you to continue to thrive in your career. And that means the whole business side of it. I always say, run your career like a business. So it's important to know this side of it, because you also can see the side of it from, if you're an employee working for an employer, you can understand now better why they need good receipting and expense reports and things like that from you, so that they can live in integrity with their business as well, and get the benefits of write-offs and expenses and all of that stuff. So it's good to understand both sides of it, even if you, for the rest of your life, continue to be an employee and you have zero interest in running your own business or being an LLC or a sole proprietor. But you become a better employer when you understand, you become a better employee when you understand the role of the employer as well. So thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to having more of these workshops with you, and maybe diving in even more of a workshop of maybe we do a working workshop where we put an LLC together, at least in California.
Yeah,
that would be really fun.
That will be fun. Yes. Again, I will send a list what to have before we jump in, but it'll be fun. Pretty easy.
Okay. That sounds great. I love
Thank
it.
you guys.
Thank you so much for your time. And thank you everybody for joining the call and for your amazing questions. Let me just run through the questions. It looks like everyone has been answered. But again, if you have any other questions, you can send those to media@flyskyangels.com, and we will pass them on and make sure that you get your questions answered so that you will thrive in your career and in your business.
Thank you guys.
Bye, everybody.
See you around.
See ya.